इंस्पिरेशन जो है मुझे primarily and right from the beginning comes from nature, because I try and design whatever I do bringing in nature into my architecture. And nature का मतलब ये है कि ग्रीनरी है, पानी है, सनलाइट है और नेचुरल लाइट, लेट मी पुट इट, और उसके बाद हवा है, फ्रेश एयर. So the idea is to use as little air conditioning as possible and make the best of what God has given you. So that is primarily my inspiration. But let me go a little further. Until 2006, when Najmi Bilgrami Collaborative was formed, I was working with a partner, Farooq Sultan, who is a structural engineer, and the name of our firm was Bilgrami and Farooq. We did mostly houses. There's very few other projects that we did. We did mostly houses. And this came about because when I started practice in 1972, it was the worst time for Pakistan. You know, almost as bad as what we are going through today. And then I was able to get a couple of houses to design. And that's how the portfolio built up, and people started thinking that I was a specialist in house design. Until 2006, I mean, imagine from 1972 to 2006, they were mostly houses that I did. And that is where this philosophy came in. And I was also a little surprised at myself. I was making a presentation to the Institute of Architects, Karachi chapter, and I dug through some of my old drawings and photographs. In fact, some of the photographs I took afresh. And I was pleasantly surprised that I was designing the same way, with the same philosophy in 1972 and 73 as I'm doing today. That has not changed. If you ask me about a good project that I have done, I may not be able to tell you. Because, again, in my case, anything that I design, I continue, even after its completion, I continue to be critical of that. And there are several ways. I mean, other people may like that project. That is something different. But my own, if you ask me, then I would pick up something or the other. A flaw in the design, a flaw in the detail, bad workmanship, which is not my doing, it's a contractor, but I'm also partly responsible for that if the project is not finished properly. So these are some of the factors, and as I said, I'm critical of myself, and because of that, I can never pinpoint or say that, this is it. One is always learning, all the time, which I'm happy about. Some of the residents that I designed during this span, long span of practice, and people who live in that say that they have not made any change over these last so many years, and it just sort of fitted them, or was very suitable for them, even after so many years. Because normally, when I design a house, I also look at the future. The children get married, either they choose to stay with the parents, the sons, or they live separately. But in both cases, the house should be adaptable or, should remain suitable for the family. तो ये चीज़ें देखकर और डिज़ाइन करने के बाद लोग अभी भी कहते हैं, बहुत से लोग कहते हैं, I may not be very happy with the project, but then that is how it is. The views are very important. Even in a residence, every room I try and make sure has a view. You're not staring at a dead wall, but you're staring at some greenery. You open the window and you look out, and there's greenery. And then privacy from the neighbors, that is also very important. And that comes in when you position your courtyards and insets in a way that the neighbors cannot see you or look into. So that is another aspect that I am very particular about, maintaining the privacy of the owners or the people living in the house, and also to give them very good views and vistas from within the house. I think it's a good omen that the profession is being recognized. I wouldn't take that individually. I would really say that the profession was recognized, just not me individually. And this year, I was going through that list yesterday, the list of, and we have 3 or 4 architects who have been recognized. I think this whole system of education on the whole, and architectural education in particular, needs to be revisited. Times have changed, and hence the education must also be such that it addresses today's issues, and it has to be continuously evolving. What we inherited in architectural education was from the West. In some of the schools, it's the British system. In some, the American system. But in almost every case, it was something that was imported. Now, how can an education given in the West suit a country like Pakistan? The issues are completely different, totally different. So, the education must address our local conditions, our issues. Low-cost housing does not mean that you cut down on materials or you reduce the concrete mixture or dilute the concrete mixture, or to cut down the cost. That is not it. You've got to create or think of new materials, experiment, do research, and then come up with materials which are low cost. Because what we have existing in the existing market, look at the price of steel, look at the price of cement. It's not affordable. It's just not affordable anymore. You have to also incorporate our local history. Unfortunately, we don't have too much material in our own architectural history. That has to be created. That material has to be created, which means you have to write books on the history of architecture for the subcontinent of this area, and you learn from there. There's so much to learn from there, from history, from architectural history, our own history. I would say that there's nothing better than hard work. Only hard work will reward you. Today, if I'm asked to do a detail in the house, and if I just take a pencil and sketch out and hand it over, without much thinking, maybe just standard details, something, then I'm not doing justice. I have to think, and the more I think, the better the detail. With all my experience, the more I think, the more I concentrate, the better the detail and the better the product then. So that goes through the profession. When you're designing, you say you're designing a house. You can just put in some lines and all that and produce a drawing and say this is the house. But then what all I've spoken about earlier, looking at the environment, making best use of nature, all that requires a lot of thinking. How you position your windows, your doors, how you position your rooms, and how you interact with the external environment. Now, all this requires thinking. So that hard work, that thinking is absolutely necessary to produce appropriate architecture, a good architecture. मेहनत करना बहुत ज़रूरी है अगर सही आर्किटेक्चर, अच्छा आर्किटेक्चर प्रोड्यूस करना है. मेहनत की ज़रूरत है. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. You may be able to earn some money, जल्दी निकाले और churn out करे, पैसे कमाए. But what are you contributing to the country, to the city? Trash.